People who were raised to be racist, then made the effort to change their views later in life, deserve more credit and way more leeway when it comes to old behaviors. I see a lot of people responding to people using their upbringing as a source for race-charged comments they made by saying it's a cop-out and that they should have just known better. Nobody just knows better, you're either taught to do something or you're not. You still need to own up for your actions and how they hurt people, but people who were raised to be racist are in a different playing field than people who weren't. If someone was raised in a setting where hating other races was expected of them, they deserve praise when they climb out of that hole and go against everything they were taught. Kids of Klansmen deserve a fucking gold star if they grew up and didn't follow in their parents' footsteps. I couldn't give less of a shit about what they posted on Facebook when they were 15 if they decide not to keep following that path later in life. It's easy to hate someone for some dumb shit they did, but some people are genuinely raised to do dumb shit and deserve to have room to grow. As someone raised by a racist that got out, honestly, it was a struggle, moving into the real world, man. It's a big kick in the gut when you find out that common sayings and terms from your childhood was hurting good people. Unfortunately, I didn't realize what they meant until a college classmate pulled me aside and told me why most of the other black girls in our class was mad at me. Talk about feeling like a total piece of shit. I cried to her and apologized, and thanked her for telling me that hard truth. Just to clarify, these sayings weren't as blatant as the N-bomb. It was more like old backhanded insulting sayings saying race has something to do with shoddy work and the like. Think like Jay in Clerks 2. I honestly had no idea it was an insult. So glad nobody kicked my ass. I mean, I wouldn't blame them. I was an idiot not to think more about my words and how they affect people. Total stupid ass kid whose dad is a racist ass. This post is kind of validating. Thanks. A white girlfriend of mine from South Africa believed till the age of 12 that the fence around a township was there to protect the black inhabitants from lions. It's easy to fool children. What is better, to be born good, or to overcome your evil nature through great effort? Being raised racist with prejudice is not exclusive to whites, but it's incredibly common amongst minorities. It's a topic that is commonly ignored and excused by certain whites as a cultural difference not to be questioned, else you're the racist, but please, question it and call it out. I was raised in a Mexican neighborhood. Went to an elementary school that was predominantly Mexican. We tolerated certain Asians. We didn't like blacks. We treated the occasional white kid as an oddity and picked on them mercilessly, but they never stayed very long. We hated Salvadorians, we spoke the same language, but they were not like us, or so our parents said. We were crueler in middle school to whites and kids of mixed race. I could count the number of black kids at school on one hand with digits to spare. Friend groups went down minority lines and remained homogeneous. Sure, as a Mexican you could be friends with a Vietnam in class, but you didn't acknowledge each other during breaks, lunch, or outside of school. High school was mostly the same, but more peaceful. Different minorities just kept to their own. Looking back, I'm astounded that no one ever called what we did racism. That was a term reserved for whites. Some of us weren't even aware that people could be racist towards us. We were taught that it was a black and white issue. Other minorities were mostly ignored during history lessons or only mentioned in a cursory fashion in passing. What's further abhorrent was the notion that we could be cruel to whites because other whites we've never met were racist towards blacks at some point. It was a minority's right to do this with impunity, though it was odd that it was encouraged by some white teachers. The world can be a strange, confusing place. It wasn't until I left high school, left my neighborhood and started working did my perspective change. Yeah, can't work retail without dealing with a number of different minorities and cultures. My time in college was interesting too. I ran into white professors that encouraged racism towards certain whites, but I also had other professors who were not afraid to expose us to ideas that challenged our perspectives and encouraged civil discourse. I'm now in my mid-30s and feel like not much has changed. I walk onto my kids' campus for volunteer work and see students in friend groups according to color. I've seen whites getting picked on, a group of minority parents had to intervene with the school because the white parents were afraid of being perceived as racist if they brought up the issue. Blacks and Mexicans fighting because they're black and Mexican, Asians refusing to talk to non-Asians. These same kids are a part of school clubs that purport to fight racism, but I feel like they enjoy being perceived that way instead really trying to fight it. Was raised to be racist and homophobic. Was playing a game and made a homophobic comment as a joke, was 18 maybe, got a ban for it. In my surprise back then, I also realized how hurtful it was. Ever since then I have made a conscious effort at being kind and accepting to everybody, no exceptions. One of my biggest fears though is something I said earlier might be held against me, and although I'm regretful and sorry for it, I can't find a way to possibly escape it. I'm half Austrian and half Turkish. My Austrian family is always racist towards Turks. My Turkish family is always racist towards Austrians. They don't even realize how similar both sides are. I said fuck it. I don't want to be that kind of person who hates someone just because of their ethnic background which they have no control over. I hate both sides of my family though because they're so close-minded. Stupidity at peak performance. Also I was taught to hate Kurdish people. I met a lot of Kurds who were really nice people. Seems reasonable. This reminds me of the time Liam Neeson was getting hate for admitting to his racist past. People failed to acknowledge that the reason he even brought up the things he said was to prove how wrong he was. Everyone focused on what he said and not on what he did to change. You know who is way more racist than Southern whites? Italians. Old school Italians fucking hate everybody. The blacks, the Asians, the Arabs, the Portuguese, the other whites. People with tattoos, even other Italians from not the same part of Italy. My dad, who isn't that old, still thinks we should segregate drinking fountains. My parents are brown, and they hate racism towards brown people, but they're probably the most racist people. I just never really listened to them and started to grow my own opinions as I got older. I also faced a lot of racism as a kid, so how it feels, not good. I still enjoy the odd racist joke here and there though with the boys. Same thing goes for people who were raised to practice a certain belief and questioned it in order to make their own judgment and decision on what they really believed in. I grew up Baptist. I knew when I was around 12 to 13 years old there was something wrong and I questioned that belief. It took some unlearning and separation to get to where I am now. I'm an atheist. There's some words for it, leaving the pale or beyond the pale, https://www. Urban Dictionary. com/define. PHP, term equals beyond %20 the %20 pale. Edit, added the link. I feel the same way about everyone who escaped their ancient authoritarian religions. Let's just say, my cringy middle school racism is responsible for a certain game developer making a statement on several gaming news sources, and putting rap music in the then newest installment of my favorite gaming franchise. After I went to college in Philly, I'm a completely different person. I wish I could take back the ridiculous things I said to fit in with my ass-backwards racist family and old friends from my hometown, but I can't. The things I said were basically the embodiment of every meme about the racist kid in the Call of Duty lobbies. If someone really dug through my internet history from 7+ years ago, I'd be cancelled in a second. I tried to nuke as much as I could, but there's only so much you can do. So if I evidently ever get a game or film career like I'm hoping, I'm also going to be prepared for the moment all of that old awful racist crap I said comes out. I'm truly sorry for the garbage I used to spew before college, but it's something I can't erase from memory. Hopefully my growth has just made me a better person all around. This is an unpopular opinion. I came from deep, working class, gay-hating, police-hating, xenophobic, scum. I feel like my desire to leave that environment the moment I could, and never go back, was a part of who I am. It was an interesting life journey to find these little gifts of hate slowly come up to the conscious and then let them go. No one taught me how to be accepting. In fact, I was taught to hate. I decided that seemed dumb, and here I am. I don't think I'm special in that respect, I think I just thought about it for a minute and saw that beyond the initial power and humor, it was really stupid and shallow. Grew up with black haters and gay bashers. Later kissed a black guy. Fuck you, Dad.